Good evening and welcome to the Celtic Way evening briefing, I guess it would be, Ryan, wouldn't it? As we react to the Celtic's AGM earlier on this afternoon and Brendan Rodgers' press conference that he gave after the EGM. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 on the Twitter or the X handle, and I'm joined tonight by Ryan McGinlay at the Ryan McGinlay. Long day, Ryan. Still at it. Still hard at it.
Always, but never dwindling. I'm not dwindling. I'm keeping it going until the very end. Yeah, it has been a long day, but as you would expect, it's been a busy day in the world of Celtic. I think it just feels as if this is Celtic back now, and they're going to be back until March time. This is now the festive period is in full swing. We've had the AGM. We're going to talk about the AGM. Had some good comments from Brendan Rodgers regarding transfers, regarding everything really. So yeah, there's plenty to discuss, but we'll get into that.
Chip away at that and chip away at the coalface as we do in a second or two. But first and foremost, direct you to the top of the screen, MPH Group, for all your plumbing, heating, kitchen and bathroom needs. We say thank you to them. They are our sponsors of the Celtic Way morning, post-match, pre-match and evening briefings. And MPH Group let me get this, the script up here, Ryan. Yes, indeed. The briefings are brought to you by MPH Group, and they are Scotland's award-winning family-run all-trade specialist covering all of mainland Scotland. And every service you offer automatically enters you into MPH's incredible holiday giveaway, where you could win a 7-night stay at the luxurious 5-star Moon Palace Resort in Cancun, Mexico. And with winter rolling in, if you're thinking of giving your home heating system a boost, MPH have an enticing Navien Boiler Winter Promotion just for you. And if you opt for a Navien Boiler installation through MPH Boilers, not only are you choosing top-tier efficiency, but you're also getting a free Navien Internet Controller, and that little gadget can crank up your boiler's efficiency to an impressive 98%. And the cherry on top of all that is that they're covering the first-year service with no added costs. If you're wondering why Navien, they're gunning for the product of the year at the HMV News Awards, which are the Oscars of the heating world. And to top it all off, the Navien ON range comes with a 12-year parts and labours warranty to give you some serious peace of mind. So we give a big shout out to MPH as they're nominated for the Small Company of the Year at the same awards, and they also offer flexible finance option. So if you're gearing up for the winter chill, consider making a smart move with MPH and Navien, and you'll find all the links to MPH's social media sites and telephone number in the description of this video. Busy day, as you said, Ryan. Celtic's AGM, Brendan Rodgers' press conference. We'll take them in chronological order. What did you make of the AGM? I tongue-in-cheek put the headline on my piece that I put in, the Grey Suit Brigade versus the Green Brigade, and who won on points. I think it's quite kind of self-explanatory to see who won on points. It was the Grey Suit Brigade, wasn't it? You put the link in there to the article there as you want to have a read at that and some of the finer points and rudiments of the AGM that were discussed. What was your take on it all, Ryan?
Yeah, all the resolutions passed without a hitch. Obviously, you're going to have some detractors, as you do in any democracy. There's always going to be people that vote against the current custodians of the club. All of them passed through without a hitch. I remember, 3 years ago during the COVID season, there was maybe a bit of doubts about certain, or was it the year after? It could have been the year after. But all of them passed without a hitch. So yeah, that was good for the board's sake on that one. Yeah, I've only caught bits and bobs of it, to be perfectly honest with you. You get some of the headlines that come out of it. It's not this ongoing Green Brigade fiascos. It's going on a wee bit too long, and you knew that it would be asked today. You knew it would be the main topic of conversation because it is the main news regarding Celtic off of the pitch. Yes, they've got great profits off of the pitch, but there is a certain amount of fans that aren't attending games, and when they aren't attending games, that is newsworthy, and that's why some fans found it within their best interest to talk about that, about potentially permanently banning fans. Not that I necessarily subscribe with that whatsoever, but everybody's entitled to their opinion. They certainly made their opinion heard, and the board gave their say on it as well. So yeah, it's clear that the club is in a really, really good place financially, as we know. We got that with the half-year report, the fact that they announced the London Stock Exchange not long after they sold Jota, that they were going to be in an incredible financial position, better than in previous years. So that's never been in doubt. I think more of the doubt is where that money is getting spent and if it's getting spent effectively, especially on personnel on the pitch. And that was relayed through to the board, through some of the shareholders as well. So yeah, it was an interesting day. A couple of really interesting comments being made from both spectators and the custodians of the club, the board members. But yeah, I think it could have been better, but it could have been a lot worse as well. I'm very much 50-50 on the way the AGM went today, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was also some comedic moments as well. I think Peter Lawwell had to intervene twice, didn't he? At various stages to tell people to behave or leave. And both times it was on the subject of the Green Brigade. The board claimed there's ongoing dialogue with them because they were asked if they would ever be welcomed back. Said there was ongoing dialogue with them, but there was no date given as to when or if they would return. So that was pretty disappointing. Thought you might have got a definitive on that. There was no definitive on that. They just sort of left it open-ended like that. But it's obvious that tensions and feelings are running high because somebody claimed they were a disruptive element as well. And, that was met with boos and cheers. So it was, I don't know if stormy is the right word, but it was feisty, wasn't it?
That's the word that I used. Yeah, I think I actually used that in one of my pieces that's going out in a couple of hours' time. It was feisty, but that's probably the right word to describe it, to be honest. You're always going to get that. You're always going to get different views. If every shareholder shared the same view, then it'd be a pretty uniform place and be quite boring in that regard. Opinions are so important. Different opinions even more so, because if you don't have different opinions, then everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet, and that's boring for absolutely everybody. I didn't think there was going to be a definitive answer with regard to the Green Brigade being back. It's disappointing that they're not going to be back this weekend, it seems like, which means that it rolls on and again and again. It becomes that sideshow that I didn't want this to become. I thought it was maybe going to be over the course of 1-2 games maybe, but it seems as if it's going to go longer than that, which is disappointing because you want the main focus to be the 11 players on the football pitch going up against the other 11 players. But yeah, there's still more talk about fans off the pitch. It's annoying. I know it can't be helped due to the situation, due to the conflict, but at the same time, you wish it wasn't the case because you want everybody on the same boat, going for the same goals. Because at the end of the day, and we said this in the morning briefing, they all want the same thing. Every group are unified by the one stance that they want the best for Celtic Football Club. And if Celtic can find a way and the Green Brigade can find a way and the boys as well, you've got to put them in the mix too. They can all find a way to get along or at least be civil with regard to the ongoing situation, then I think it'd be for the best.
I tell you what also didn't help, the optics of Celtic being hit with another UEFA fine just as they were going in to have the AGM, and there was, you can point fingers at whoever you want to for that, but that didn't look good. Celtic fined €29,000, which is just over £25,000. And that was announced in UEFA's Ethics and Board of Control. They released their documents today, so Celtic have copped another fine. So I say the optics in that weren't good. But on the plus side, the manager was promised funds by CEO Michael Nicholson, and obviously they addressed the challenges about their ambition in Europe. And Peter Lawwell said they wanted to dominate in Scotland and still provide a world-class football team, stuff like that, which kind of all said that they still wanted Celtic to be competitive in Europe. Brendan Rodgers says he's got results against bigger teams in his previous clubs. It just takes time. So I think it's still a goal that Celtic are working towards, Ryan, making them a competitive force in the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be the end goal. Celtic have got to be a force, not to say that the domestic league is a given, because it's not. They've got to work hard every single year to get that accolade of being the champions of Scotland. But Celtic have got to push the boat out. I want to see Now, I know this is pie in the sky stuff, and it's. But I would love to see the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan of where Celtic are going to be in those times. I like seeing those developments, like a roadmap of how things are going to go over the next half decade to decade. If Celtic could be that transparent with the supporters and the journalists and everybody who covers Celtic or follows Celtic, and I think a lot of people would be a lot better for it, and would be a much better relationship from the supporters to the board.
I think Brendan Rodgers is certainly trying, isn't he, to be as transparent as possible. There's Paddy, the mention of the board, and Paddy goes off on a Maddie. There you have it.
We know what side he's on.
Yes, exactly. Indeed. Mark O'Neill comes in. This is one of my favourite YouTube channels. Thank you very much, Mark. Appreciate that. Helen Feeks agreeing with you. Evening, Helen. You're right, Ryan. And Craig McMeekin saying the board's ambition.
It's all about the board's ambition, how much they want to push the boat out with regard to ambition and bringing the club even further ahead in Europe. You know, it doesn't really sit well with me, the fact that Celtic are a sort of participant in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, when you have that winning mentality of winning the league in Scotland most seasons, or every season it seems like recently, then you want to transfer that to European competition. And they weren't shy in saying that it is difficult for Celtic to do that, to bridge that gap, because the finances are too great. So you've got to find it in other ways. They've got to find hidden gems. Their scouting network's got to be spot on. They can't be going and signing. I don't want to say duds, but players that aren't going to affect the first team. Every signing that Celtic has got to make has made, and a good thing is recently, in recent times, out with maybe this season, past couple of seasons, I've not really signed too many players that haven't made an impact in the first team, which is encouraging. But their consistency's got to be spot on. But it's all about how the board want to push that boat out. You know, Brendan Rodgers in his press conference was talking about the fact that even if you do sign a player for £9-10 million, it's not a surefire that they're going to be a success. It's not a guarantee. So if they can find that balance of finding hidden gems and spending more money to bring guaranteed quality into the starting 11, then I'm all for that, to be honest.
Craig McMeekin comes back in and finished his sentence. The board ambition is to stay ahead of Rangers. We're hoping it's a lot more than that, Craig, moving forward. I'm sure the manager does too. Thomas Gallagher saying the board need to stop spending the pennies and start paying the pounds that they've stashed away. And speaking of opinions, today, I think, I hope you're on and you're watching, there was a Charlie McGarvey who I think ended up banned, but I think he put up a comment by mistake that affected yours truly, and so I'll say that. Sorry about that, Charlie, but that's been squared up and everything. So Charlie is a subscriber, and we're a breakdown in communication and that. So hopefully if you're watching, Charlie, give us a shout in the comment section. If not, then nothing personal was intended by that. So there you go. On you go, Ryan.
Just one thing with regard to the AGM, and it's something that's up to me for a wee while now. I don't like all these sly digs at Rangers. I know that they're trying to get brownie points with maybe the shareholders by saying certain, like the penalty Rangers comments and stuff like that. I would much rather Celtic just focus on their own affairs, to be perfectly honest with you. You know, there was that quote, that tweet that they put out 3-4 years ago now, that they said they're not half of anything. Well, I think if that's the case, and to be fair, the shareholders can take a bit of the blame of that as well, because they are bringing up questions that are directly affecting the team from the other end of the city. But I'd much rather Celtic just focus on their own affairs, their own matters, because they're doing pretty well on their own without needing to mention their rivals.
Yeah, I don't think they need it. I know they were responding to certain questions, which
some VAR, one of them was.
Yeah, one was on VAR, but I think it's petty point scoring, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think at this moment in time, when you still kind of conceive that you're in a title race, you don't need to add any kind of fuel to a Rangers dressing room or give them any excuse to pin up something on the wall and say, you know, that's what your rivals think of you, all that kind of stuff, those mind games and gamesmanship that you play. You know, Peter Lawwell has done it a couple of occasions. In these situations, and I just think that you say that they're custodians of the club. I think they should be able to rise above that. I want the custodians of my football club to conduct themselves in a manner becoming of the best football club in the world, which you and I perceive it to be. people would argue that it's not. We would argue that as well. But that's still that. I want men in that position to carry themselves in a way befitting of a club like Celtic and the high standing that you and I believe it is to be. You know, they are our representatives, and I agree wholeheartedly with that sentiment that you don't need the petty jibing and the point scoring about your rivals. You know, the proof's in the pudding. On the park, you're a better football team. You've got a better bank balance. You should enjoy these moments and enjoy the superiority that you have at this moment in time. Nothing lasts forever. But I think you should focus.
There's so much to gloat about in other areas.
I think you should focus on arming your manager to the teeth in January, getting him those quality players that he has craved since he walked in the building in the summer, and becoming a force in the but becoming highly competitive in the Champions League. I just think that I think Helen Feeks comes in as well. Say, yeah, don't lower your standards. Exactly, Helen. You know, the gravitas. You know, treat being a custodian of Celtic with the utmost respect and reverence that it deserves. And sometimes when, you know, your representatives on the board act like that, I think it's conduct unbecoming of the very, very high office of which they've been esteemed to be in charge of. My own opinion, I share it with yourself. I don't like it. I think they should stop. And I know there are specific questions, but that VAR question was turned into something about Rangers. And then another one, Peter Lawwell had a jibe as well, didn't he, later on?
About the directors, about who they're benchmarking against.
Yeah. And then there was another reference to, I think there was a question asked specifically about John Beaton's refereeing, and Peter Lawwell made a quip about Celtic last got a penalty for a John Gregg handball or something like that.
These comments like this, do they not realise? And I'm sure they do. They will realise because they weren't born under a rock, or they've not been under a rock any time recently. So they must realise that these comments will circulate and make main news. They'll back pages. They'll probably sell the back pages with quotes like this. But I don't think it adds anything whatsoever. I think it's just
they're unbecoming of men in that high office. That's all I'll say about that. And I think we've covered that pretty extensively.
Yeah, I think that's everything we can mention with regard to the AGM. To be honest, it's good that Brendan Rodgers is getting linked with, or is going to get given funds. Another interesting thing. Sorry, just before we go on to the press conference chat. You know, Ross Desmond was saying that the club won't be sold in his lifetime.
Yeah.
So, I mean, whatever way you want to take that, that's pretty reassuring that at least it'll be in decent hands. The club will be in decent hands. It won't fall into wrongful hands, you would say. So, I guess that is a reassuring point in some case. But sorry, what were you saying? Was there anything else you wanted to add with regard to the?
No, I was just saying if you wanted to have a look at the AGM stuff, then click on the website. There's my article there, and there's various other stories on that from today's news stories as well, from today's events in the Kerrydale suite. So have a look at that, guys. Ryan's put the article that I've written today in the comments section. So, yeah.
Put the other one in as well.
Yeah, excellent.
That's quite a good one as well from the Celtic Way. It was a live blog giving the ins and outs of what happened on the day. It's quite informal as well, which is good. Just reading through it. If you want the quick highlights of what was said in a chronological order, then please check that out on the Celtic Way website, available now.
Steve McGrory, regular contributor. Hi guys, I like Ryan's Harry Carpenter microphone and Tony's reference to Herman's helmets in his AGM article. And yes, I
get that. I got that one as well, to be fair.
Yeah, you got the Herman's helmets reference, did you? Excellent.
It was in the soundtrack to a movie I was watching the other night, Legend, Tom Hardy's movie on the Cray twins. So that's in that movie as well.
Yeah. Well, you'll know exactly what that was referring to. So cheers for that, Steve. Appreciate that. Now, after Brendan Rodgers was a busy man, he was at the top table, and then he came in and sat down at the other table, put the manager's head on, and he previewed the Motherwell game, but was also asked a myriad of questions concerning other things. I tell you what I did like, Ryan. I love the fact that he's still smarting that Celtic haven't won 13 out of 13 this season, because he mentioned
perfection.
it.
He's striving for perfection.
Oh, absolutely loved that. He was asked about the balancing act between making Celtic domestically successful and taking the next step in Europe. And he was saying that the Champions League, you come up against strikers that are the best in the world and at the top of their game. But domestically, and he just said, we should have won 13 out of 13. He's like, we haven't. He says, but we've learned. Just like he's won 11 and drew the other 2-0, but he's still, it irks away at him. And I like that, because then you won't settle. And the players will be told in no uncertain terms that those kind of performances, the one at St Johnstone in August and Easter Road last month, are unacceptable.
Yeah, and I think now there was a worry in the early weeks and months of the season that Brendan Rodgers' tone wasn't the same as what it was in his first spell at the club. Any worry of that has evaporated, to be perfectly honest with you, because he's very much in form. I think when Brendan Rodgers is in a good mood, when he's in a feisty mood, as we called the AGM feisty, when Brendan Rodgers is in a feisty mood, it can make some really good quotes. Our jobs as journalists is made a lot easier by the things that Brendan Rodgers says, because he writes headlines with what he says, and the stories right for him. A lot of the stories that we do, a lot of it's made up of quotes because of how good his speaking is. He never really gives dry answers. He'll always give you a paragraph or two of an answer, which is absolutely brilliant. And yeah, he was in good form today, which is great.
He's returned with a real ruthlessness and edge to him, Ryan. I mean, he spoke in the AGM about he returned, he made that decision based from the heart, but he's certainly not the sentimental type when it comes to football. It's strictly business when it comes to football, and that I love that ruthlessness about him. Just signposting things and saying, January's a difficult window, but we'll get the right players in at the right price if I can do it. What that to me was saying that what I was saying this morning. I kind of watched this space, didn't bat it out the park, and he even left the Jota one hanging, didn't he? He said, any chance of bringing Jota, but I asked Michael Nicholson. That was a back over the net to you. He's quality. Listen, and if we can do that, so be it. But
they've gave him a 3-year contract. They know what they're in for with regard to Brendan Rodgers. They've got the proof because he was there the last time around. Peter Lawwell would have told them all about what Brendan Rodgers is like, especially when he was the chief executive of the club during his whole tenure, actually. So, yeah, they knew what they were getting with Brendan Rodgers. They were happy to accept that. And yeah, I like somebody that's constantly challenging the board and striving for perfection on the pitch and off the pitch as well. Having that consistency, both when you're playing and when you're not playing, is brilliant for the club. And I'm still just delighted that Brendan Rodgers is the manager. To be honest, I think he's carrying himself very, very well.
Anything else strike you on the press conference front?
Just having a wee look. Ryan. It's all on the Celtic website, the full Q&A. Yeah. I'm just having a wee read at some of the stuff that he was saying. I thought the 13 out of 13 comment was really, really good. Interesting to hear about.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. Alistair Johnson and Lewis Palmer, they'll both be taking really, really late flights back to Glasgow with regard to the weekend. So that could potentially mean a bit of a turnaround in the team. You'd think maybe Ralston could maybe come back into the team for a game, especially against Motherwell at home. Not to put the visitors in any sort of disservice, but they are a team that's off form, and it's potentially a game that Celtic could rotate a couple of players given their international exploits. Palmer could be the same. I wouldn't be against Palmer coming on for 20 minutes like he did against Ross County at Dingwall, because it doesn't matter if he's got 90 minutes or 20 minutes or 10 minutes. When he's on the park, he can make a big difference. But there's options there. They've got I've got to be honest, the game against Aberdeen has certainly whetted the appetite, has whetted my appetite to see more of Yang in this team. I think he's a really, really exciting young player. I think the sky's the limit for him if he can get a lot of things sorted in his game. And Motherwell could be a good game to showcase that, because it was the Palmer show against Aberdeen. The stats don't lie. He was Celtic's outstanding player on the day. But Yang could put in a similar performance against Motherwell at the weekend. Fingers crossed he gets that vote of confidence and he can just drop in.
Something that's been overlooked, Ryan, a chance to go 11 ahead, put real pressure on Rangers.
Absolutely. They don't play until Sunday.
Yeah, and the ball back in Rangers' scope. You've got to take care of. We always say control the controllables, and Celtic go out and control the controllables by hopefully beating Motherwell. You've got to fancy them. Motherwell are a team, as you say, who's having a terrible dip in form, and they'll want to try and arrest that slide. But you feel that a full Celtic firing on all cylinders, if they produce anything like the Aberdeen game, then they'll be too strong for Motherwell. And I think that's what you're hoping for, isn't it? That they can follow that up despite the international break with another consistent and solid performance and score a few goals in the process. And if they can do that, then the pendulum of pressure swing back to Rangers, who go to Pretoria against an Aberdeen who you would think would play differently from the way they did at Celtic.
Well, that gauntlet's already been thrown down by some pundits, so it'll be interesting to see if that is actually the case. But as we said, I don't want to talk about them too much. I'm not much. I'll talk about Celtic and what they can do. Control the controllables on Celtic's side of things. Chance to go 11 points clear, regardless of any games in hand.
It's still
games
massive.
in hand, you've still got to win them. You've still got to win those games in hand. Put that pressure on because Celtic will be getting those points anyway. If they get the 3 points, just put them on the board, accumulate them, and let other teams who are in the following pack just allow them to put that pressure on them and see if they can keep up, basically. But yeah, I think Saturday 3:00 a home game. Nice that Celtic have got 2 home games in a row there with regard to Aberdeen before the international break, and then Motherwell right after it. I know they've got Lazio during the week, which is a completely different ball game altogether, you would say. But it's a good chance for Celtic to keep that positive momentum going into a game against European opposition. It's a team that'll be feeling quite sorry for themselves and Stuart Kettlewell's Motherwell side. But then again, it's a chance to get a scalp and get their season back underway again. So it'll be a difficult game. It can't take any of these games for granted. Brendan Rodgers has said they'll give the opponents all the respect in the world. But Celtic have a job to do on Saturday, and I wouldn't bet against them doing it, to be honest.
You seem very relaxed today, considering it's EGM. Something there's could be like some nerves and tension.
I think he's quite comfortable.
He was just batting everything off. Wasn't even he kind of spoke about the VAR summit that's happening tomorrow as well. Some kind of VAR meeting with I think it's Crawford Allen, isn't it? Is it Crawford Allen or those?
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Those involved directly with VAR. So, but they were all very philosophical about it and what's happening in the future. Hazel Finn, love listening to a Brendan Rodgers interview. He talks really well and gives a lot of interesting information. Very calm. Made that point this morning. Hazel, listening to the manager, he is full of good chat and roadmap signposts. Call it what you like. A bit like the last manager they had as well. Telling you things.
You can see why players want to play for Brendan Rodgers, and you see only a small glimpse of it. Yes, we've been probably more luckier than most that we've had the chance to speak to the manager on occasions. But just going through the YouTube videos, going through the interviews that it has both with the media and Celtic TV and the radio, he's a very I don't know what's the word that you would use. I'm trying to think of the word that you would use. He's nice to listen to. He's pleasing to listen to with regard to his interviews. He enjoys being, and if you were a player, you'd love to play for a manager like that. He'll put his arm around you and tell you that you're a good player and you're good enough for the team. So yeah, you can see why players are so enamoured by Brendan Rodgers for sure.
He has a way with him. Let's put it this way, right?
Yeah.
He's a confident man. He's confident in his own skin, and he's very happy being a football manager. And he's more than a football manager. He's a confidant, isn't he? He's a social worker. He's everything, isn't he? To all players. So, and he does strike you as the door's always open type manager. You can talk to him about anything in life, and I think Brendan Rodgers would have a solution for it, whether that be your family life, your home life, your financial life, or whatever. And if he didn't have the answer himself, he would certainly get you the right help required or the right advice from those responsible if you went to him with a particular problem. So, and I think journalists, I've said this before, there are not many managers you sit down in front of and you actually learn, and that's a gift. And I every time I've sat in front of Brendan Rodgers, I've learned something new about football, come away with a kind of different point of view with something. And as you say, I think he has that kind of calming, soothing effect when you listen to him. So yeah. Maestro 95 coming in. So what's the board saying to it? Are they going to release more funds for Brendan to go forward with the team? That was the shout, wasn't it? Michael Nicholson said that. And Brendan has spoken about that and talking about that, January being potentially a difficult window, but the quality is there. He mentioned Van Dijk, didn't he?
It's probably a better outlet for. Yeah, he did mention Van Dijk has been a good a source of positivity with regard to the transfer strategy.
A January window transfer, basically, he was talking about the represented value for money, and those players are there, the likes of Van Dijk, who he kind of made a point of mentioning. So I quite like that as well. Not so much in. I wasn't reading too much into the fact that I think Celtic only spent a couple of million on Van Dijk, but talking about the actual sourcing of the player, So I'm happy with that, and I'm happy with the way he's going about his business. And as I said this morning, I would trust Brendan Rodgers with money. Let's put it that way. If he was given, a bit of the financial root health that Celtic made a big deal about, if he was given some of those millions to spend, then I would trust him to produce the quality and unearth the quality that he wants in his team, and to make and improve Celtic going forward. So yeah, it's been a busy day, Ryan, hasn't it? But
it certainly has. It's very dark. Very dark outside now as well, to be honest. But do you know what? We wouldn't want to spend it any other way than giving you the best Celtic content that the internet has to offer. So
we wouldn't, would we? And we hope that we do that. Over 100 people joining us live, Ryan, which is great for 25 to 7 on a wet and miserable Wednesday night. I've got the dogs to take out to look forward to, Ryan. Maybe that's why Paddy was going off his nut earlier. But he's just
I've got a wee drive home myself. So
impatient. But anything else strike you, Ryan, you wanted to bring up? Or
I don't think there was anything else. I think that was all the main points that we spoke about. It's difficult to gauge because there's still players to come back from international duty. Maybe some of the quotes would have been different if it was a couple of days later. If it was a Thursday or a Friday, he was doing the press conference. Just due to the fact that he was at Celtic Park, seemed like a good opportunity to do that press conference, and it was quite an insightful listen and read as well. To be fair,
you can listen to them and read all the articles on the AGM on the Celtic Way website. And we implore you all the time whenever we come on the briefings, and we ask you to subscribe to the website. Costs you £4 for 4 months or £18 for a yearly subscription. Why not take out a yearly subscription, and you'll help us by supporting top quality football journalism, covering the club you love. And that's by clicking the subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. That's www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We say thank you to MPH Group, who are our sponsors for all your plumbing, heating, kitchen and bathroom needs, and also the Navien promotion. Check out the links to the social media sites in the description of this video. But yeah, hit that subscribe button, guys, if you enjoy what we do. We endeavour to do it every day. We're here every day. We're here post-match, pre-match and post-match, aren't we, Ryan? And we'll be on after the press conferences now to have a wee kind of chat about what was said by the manager and players. There's another press conference tomorrow, I believe, isn't there? The players being put up tomorrow, Ryan, is that right?
Yeah, we don't know what player it will be, but I mean, my guess would be Matt O'Reilly because he's just made his debut with Denmark. Not placing any bets on who's going to be. I mean, it's definitely not going to be either Lewis Palmer or Alistair Johnson. I know that for sure.
Yeah, you can rule those two out, can't you? They won't be in the press conference, but Guys, hit that button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We can't do it without you. We appreciate your input. We try and read your comments out as they come in all the time. And if we don't read your comments out today, we'll certainly endeavour to do it tomorrow or the day after or in the ensuing days. But thanks for joining us. Busy day. Celtic AGM, Celtic Motherwell press conference. Football's coming back, isn't it, Ryan?
That's it. It's coming back and it's here to stay over the Christmas period. Very, very exciting times. Lots of football to be played. Lots of sport to watch over the Christmas period. So, yeah, it's my favourite time of year for more than one reason.
Guys, we shall see you tomorrow. Well, Ryan will see you tomorrow. I'll be on my allotted day off. So, Ryan will be taking the reins of the ship, the good ship Celtic Way tomorrow.
Absolutely.
I'm sure he'll steer it, no problem at all. But thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it. Take care. Have a lovely Wednesday evening, and I will see you all again on Friday. Ryan, you'll see everybody tomorrow.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.